Okay, good morning, everybody. Eddie here, Marketing Lecturer of Think Education. Today is our first webinar, as announced some time ago. Right, let's have a look at the topic for this one here. It is recorded, so you can play back, review and play back the session at any time at your convenience. And again, basically, the purpose is to discuss Assessment 1. That is our main course for this presentation. Okay? Highly recommended that you go through all learning materials, including the relevant chapters of the prescribed textbook. And if I use any video clips or other examples, they are meant to be discussion materials, not as an offense for anybody or any group. And that's our prescribed textbook. And the second textbook in here is recommended as well. Okay. All right, we adopt the Harvard referencing style. So when we do referencing style, make sure that you include the in-text references and also a reference list, right? Okay, now, assessment phase 1, which is due in week 6, okay, requires you to address all tasks, okay? You also need to explain the relevant concepts. For instance, if the concept is about a targeting strategy, you explain it. In terms of explaining the relevant concepts, one of the best strategies is to explain the definition, to show the definition, right? And reference it, okay? And I noticed that a lot of people are comfortable with the citation, and if you're not sure about on how you can do in-text references, please download the guide from the portal. So the other thing is, please make sure that you use the relevant concepts in your analysis. For instance, targeting, after you outline the definition, targeting strategy is what, then you also explain how a company uses this targeting strategy concepts, okay? And after that, you need to substantiate it with facts, evidence, or reference, okay? So for instance, the company's targeting strategy is what, and you explain this is shown by what in your analysis. So this is how you paint the picture, how you paint the evidence to support your argument, okay? All right, now the assessment case study phase 1, you need to refer to the assessment brief for product selection. Appreciate that if you can post your comment for validation. I'm going to bounce you some feedback if you have problems with it. And observe the rubric or marking criteria, because that's how your assessment will be marked, okay? Please also observe the word limit. Look, plus minus 10% is fine. Okay, that excludes the title page, table of content, reference list. Okay, that's basically about your content. Okay, and it is due in week 6, so we have 2 more weeks from now. All right. Okay, this slide shows the content of our assessment: background analysis, environmental analysis, SWOT analysis, and competitor analysis. Okay, I think there's another one which is basic consumer behavior, right? Consumer characteristics. Now let's have a look at them. Background analysis. Here, your task is to introduce the company and the product. You outline, right, the main points about the company. Okay, what is this company or what is this organization all about? Okay, and introduce their product or service. Okay, you may also want to briefly explain about their target market, their customers. Okay, so basically your intention here is to introduce, right? Think about if you introduce someone to me, you'll talk about this person briefly. Okay, you introduce, let's say, your friend Joseph. Eddie, this is my friend. I'd like you to meet my friend Joseph. Joseph is what? Yada yada in brief. Okay, You'll not tell me on the entire thing about Joseph because it might take the entire day in our introduction, okay? And then you perform the environmental analysis. Okay. Now the environment analysis in here, there's a model that we recommend you to use. PAST model: political, economic, social, culture, and technological. Okay. And some other experts suggest a PASTEL or STEEP or STEP, or they're the same thing. Okay. Now, the other thing that I'd like to highlight to you when you explain the environmental analysis is to make sure that you use data, facts, references to substantiate, okay? To substantiate your analysis, right? All right. The next thing is SWOT analysis, which is actually a strategic fit analysis between the external environment and the internal environment, the business facing, okay? And then competitor analysis. Okay, appreciate if you can explain 3 main competitors, because one is probably too minimum, right? 3 is basically the right size. And the last bit that we need to include is the consumer buyer characteristics. We need to explain the level of involvement and the situational, right? That includes psychological and social influences. Okay. So these are the factors affecting consumers when they make decision buying the product. Okay. Now let's have a look at the first one: background information. Again, this includes information about the company, right? A little bit of a brief history of the company. For instance, the company was founded by whoever the person is, when, and you can also talk a little bit about what the company has done in the competition. Okay, these guys have been offering this, and that, for instance. Okay, and here the main point that you want to include in here is the product introduction. Right? Look, I do not appreciate if you talk more about the company and very little about the product, because your focus would be the product or service that you are introducing in here. Okay, I understand that we have the word limit, so you need to have more focus on the product or service, okay, rather than the company itself. The company could be brief, right? Okay. Now, before we move on to the next step, I try to bring us to understand what is marketing, because this should be the central focus of your entire analysis, right? Whatever we do actually brings the spirit in your assessment. Okay, what is marketing? Some people say advertising, communication, promoting, selling. Okay, and I just marked a few discussion forum, great discussion forum. I understand that those words also came up. Well, actually, if we think about setting up a firm, right? This is our firm, and this is our customer, right? Our firm definitely will not live alone. Our firm will interact, right? At least we will interact with the customers. How do we interact with the customers? Now, when we interact with someone else, we actually run what we call as the exchange process. Okay, in the exchange process, we have something. The other party should also have something, so we swap. Okay, that's what we mean by exchange, right? We get something by offering something else. Okay, and we expect that what we get is larger, has larger value, right? Both parties believe that anything that we receive has larger value. Okay, so without that, we are not going to run the exchange process. Okay, now let's zoom into what we mean by the exchange process. Okay, the exchange process again requires both parties to have anything to offer. Okay, the company in here or the firm in here has something to offer, right? They have the offering. The customers also have something. In this instance, they have need or want and purchase power. Without that, the process, the exchange process will not work. Okay. Now, when the customers in here are quite critical, right? So when you think about marketing, please think about the customers, because they are the focal points in your in marketing, okay? In value chain delivery for the in the value chain delivery. Okay. So the customers have needs, and when the customers say, "Yep," when the customers give feedback or say, "Yep, I like what you're offering because what you offer meets my need," okay, that means we have helped them solving their problem. Now, it doesn't mean that we offer something high technological, such as the guys at Apple or Samsung or Cochlear medical device or Google do. It could be as simple as laundry detergent, or it could be as simple as nappies, babies' nappies that absorb water better. So we help babies sleep well at night. Okay, with that, since we have help the customers solving the problem, we actually have added value in their life. All right, we have added value in their life. Okay, and the customers say, "Yep, because of that, I'm going to spend my money to purchase what you offer." In here, we also have added value for the firm. So that's our role in marketing. We added value for the firm as well as added value for the customers. In fact, we added value for the firm through adding value for the customers, right? So they're the keywords that you want to look at in your marketing concept, okay? It is a set of activity. If you refer to the American Marketing Association's definition of marketing, it is a set of it is the activity, a set of activity that contains processes, right? Of what? Process of what? Process of creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offering that have value for customers, right? So that's what we mean by marketing. Okay, they are the keywords. So in brief, the keywords in marketing I'd like you to think about include exchange and value, right? So they are the two keywords. If you forget anything, okay, they're the two keywords that you want to think about. Okay, they're that you want to start with when you explain marketing. Okay, please move away from selling, move away from communicating, because you only talk about one piece of the entire marketing concept. Okay. All right. Now that leads us to the next thing. Okay. When we say that we want to create value, we want to communicate, create, communicate, and deliver value for customers. Actually, the previous model may be oversimplified, because in real life, as a firm or company, when we try to convince the customers or final consumers in here, or the final buyers in here, that we can create value for them, we actually need to get engaged with the other parties, such as marketing intermediaries, competitors, and suppliers, right? So these, and on top of that, we also need to think about the major environmental forces or the larger societal forces that affect everybody's need. Okay, that affect everybody. My apologies, that affect everybody. Okay, so we need to look at the entire thing in here, right? Now, look, this is basically the main points that we need to look at in your assessment one, okay? Your assessment one is basically about understanding this. Okay, let's have a look at it. First of all, market environment, there are two types of market environment, micro and macro, right? If you look at that, the guys in here, right, the guys on the top in here are the micro environment actors, right? On top of that, we have the major environmental forces, which are basically micro environmental forces. Okay, now let's have a look at them one by one. In micro environment micro environment actors include 6 areas, 6 elements: the company itself or the marketing organization, the suppliers, marketing intermediaries, competitors, publics, and customers. In brief, if you add these 5 things, 5 guys here with publics, then you'll get micro environment. Okay. All right. Now let's have a look at it. The company itself is critical, because we are in the business of creating, communicating, and delivering value for customers. Okay, and we also say that marketing is a set of activity. In the olden days, marketing was defined as marketing department. It is no longer defined as marketing department. Okay? It is the activity. What does it mean? The entire company, the entire members of the company will work hand in hand to create value, to communicate value, to deliver value for customers. Okay, so for instance, if you work in finance, you need to think about how you can contribute from your expertise in finance to create value for the customers by managing the asset of the organization, for instance. Okay, to be effective in terms of creating a better offering for the customers. Okay, now suppliers also help us in managing in creating value. Right, they help us with the raw material, packaging material, and in some instances the labor as well, the manpower as well. Okay, so we need to work with them. Okay, so these guys help us to meet what we promise. Right, without us able to work with the suppliers collaboratively, we may struggle to get the correct raw materials, to get the correct packaging materials, to get the correct labor, so that we can deliver our promise, the value that we promise for the customers. Okay, marketing intermediaries, or these guys are basically our distributors or financial intermediaries, right? If you think about the distributor, they help us promoting or communicating and delivering value for customers. Okay, and competitors. So what do competitors do in here in helping us creating value, communicating value, and delivering value for customers? Well, we need to understand them. Okay, we need to understand them because the world out there is so competitive. We need to ensure that we offer superior value than our competitors do. Right? If you offer the same thing, then your customers will ask, "Why would I bother buying your product or switching to your brand over the current brands that I have been buying from your competitors?" Right? Public is interesting. Public is basically about anybody that has interest in what we do, because what we do will affect them and what they do will also affect us. Okay, so that's public. Okay, they may not be a target market, but we need to manage their interests. Now the last one is customer. Right, so we need to focus our attention to meeting our customers' needs. So we need to understand who they are, and we need to understand their needs and preferences, their behavior. The more we understand the customers, the better for us. Okay, right. So that's the concept of microenvironment. Right. Again, competitors. We need to understand who they are and briefly outline their product or service to address your assessments. Briefly, what are they offering? Okay, we outline what they are offering. Okay, and if you can also compare to your own offering, to the firms that to the offering that your firm has developed, that's fantastic. Okay. The next thing is the elements of macro environment. Some experts suggest 6 elements that include demographic environment, economic, natural, technological, political, and social environment, and culture environment. Okay, now let's have a look at them one by one. Demographic environment is actually the study of human population in terms of size, density, location, age, gender, race, occupation, and other stats. Okay, now you may recall that a couple of months ago, the Australian government conducted the census survey. So that gives us an idea of demographic profile of the Australian population. Okay, and that's demographic. Okay, economic. Now, economic actually consists of factors that affect the consumer purchase power and spending patterns. Right, economic indicators such as inflation rate, the interest rate. Especially a lot of Australians are borrowers, right, through mortgage system to buy house, for instance, right? So the interest rate in here will affect our purchase power or spending pattern, right? The GDP, again, the unemployment rates, the consumer confidence, they are part of the they are part of the economic factors that we need to look at. The next one is natural. Now, a few issues under natural, all right? They include the scarcity of the natural resources, right? Especially if our business depends on natural resources, and a lot of businesses, by the way, depend on natural resources. And if the natural resources are not replenishable, and a lot of them are not replenishable, and the natural resources that we are using have become, scarce, that means the cost, the cost of the material will increase. That affects our business costs, right? The second issue of nature issue in here is the pressure from the not-for-profit organization that leads to the government intervention. Now, you may recall that in 2010, the Labour government introduced what they call as the carbon tax. Arguably, carbon tax, since it is charging a tax for 500 types of businesses, it has arguably again increased the costs of running business. Okay, and again, 2013, the Abbott's government scrapped that that legislation. The next one is technological environment that helps us in creating new technologies, creating new products and market opportunities. Right, the big message in the technological environment also includes the digital technology that people use. Right, that helps us opening opportunities to reach customers in a different way, to get engaged with the customers better. That's technological. Political and social consists of law, the government agencies, or the actors in political, and pressure groups that influence or limit various organizations and individuals in a given society. Okay? And the last one is the cultural environment, which is basically about the institutions or the forces that affect the values of our society, perceptions, preferences, and also behavior. Okay. In brief, culture is the set of values or behavior that we adopt together as a member of that culture. Okay. Okay. Look, this is basically showing you some highlights of our demographic environment. The first one is the geographic shift in population. We know that people move around, okay? A better educated, more white collar, more professional population. Now that has implication to marketing practice, okay? If you have more educated customers, a better educated customer group or white collar, then we may have more demanding customers, right? Basically that may also increase our costs. Okay, increased diversity. If you look at McDonald's, for instance, in Sydney, we have a large Muslim population, for instance, in Bankstown area. McDonald's has customized their offering. So increasing diversity in here helps us, helps marketers to think about how can we customize our offering. Okay, so the implication of diversity is customizing. Okay, because we have more customers from different background. Okay, that's what we mean by diversity. Different background. Okay, now the different background in here includes many things in terms of diversity. It could be different culture, different cultural background, or language background, or ethnicity. It could also be from the perspective of political orientation. Okay, it could also be from the demographic different variables such as the income. For instance, there are some groups of customers that come under SINGs, for instance, single income, no kids, or double income, no kids, or more senior people may be labeled as the empty nesters because the kids have grown up, the kids have left home, they settle down away from the parents' house, from the parents' home, for instance. Okay, so that has implication in marketing. Okay, right. Economic environment, again, changes in income and spending, and I discussed with you guys about the key indicators, key economic indicators that you also need to look at. The income and spending power will affect our lifestyle, our shopping habit, our shopping pattern. Okay, so that's economic. Natural, there are the issues that we talked about before. I'm not going to detail that. Now, political, again, is about the legislation. You need to look at the regulation that has been introduced or legislation that has been introduced and what affects, what is the effect to our business, okay? And look, we can also use what we call as PAST to encapsulate all 6 elements that we just discussed before. Okay, let me go back. There's 6 elements in here under macro environmental forces. We can also use PASTs to summarize them. Okay, it stands for political, economic, social, cultural, and technological. Some scholars call them a step or state or pastel. Okay, they're the same thing. Okay? Right. So this is a laundry list. So a shopping list, if you like, a long list of political, economic, social, and technological. Do you have to analyze everything? You don't. Okay, you don't have to analyze everything. Okay, you may want to analyze 2 in here, and 2 from social, and 2 from technological. Okay, your main purpose is to basically to show the impact. Okay, is to show the impact. All right, the purpose of reviewing past or macro environment analysis is to review all elements that may affect the industry, consumption, organization, or business, right? The impact could be in the context of costs or profit, cost or consumption. Cost will affect your profits, right? For instance, if the government just introduced a new regulation that you need to comply, your organization needs to comply with it, okay? You may need to spend some costs, right? And that will affect your profitability. Okay, so that means it is negative. Okay, and from economic perspective, there may be, if you look at the demographic profile in Australia, for instance, you may be able to find that there's a growing trend of double income, right? Both mom and dad work, okay, and so they earn a double income. So that the disposable income has increased in here. Right, so it is positive because there is a tendency. It is very likely that consumers may spend more money for consumption. Okay, now the second dimension of past analysis is the impact itself. After you look at the changes, you look at the impact. Okay, the impact could also be could only be positive or negative. It could only be one of them. It can't be both. It can't be neutral. If it is neutral, there are 2 possibilities. You may not analyze that thorough enough, or you may, or it may not, that factor may not be relevant to your business. Okay, so you need to ignore it. Okay, all right. Now let's have a look at a bit of example here. Okay, I have an example here, the Australian dollars, right? Starting from January 2015. If you look at that, was decreasing until January 2016, and now it is kind of bouncing back. Okay, now if the trend continues, the Australian dollar is increasing, right? This is Australian dollars exchange rate to US dollar. Okay, now what does it mean? Well, look at that further. If I do trading business, okay, I make the product in overseas, either India and China, and I would normally pay in US dollars for sale in Australia. Okay, if Australian dollar is increasing and keeps increasing, what does it mean? Does it mean good or bad? Well, it means good because I would pay less US dollar. Okay, so I would that means positive for me. Okay, I make the products in overseas for sale in Australia, and the Australian dollar recently has a tendency of increasing. Okay, that means good for my trading business. Okay, because it is going to be cheaper for me. The cost of running business will be cheaper for me, so I could make more profit. Therefore, it is an opportunity for me. Okay, since it is positive. Now, what about the tendency is an increase in here? Let's say we say that it is an the trend is increasing in terms of the exchange rate has an increasing trend, for instance. Okay, so what does it mean? If my business is different now, I make the product in Australia for sale in overseas. Okay, and I would normally charge US dollar in the international transaction. Okay, what does it mean? Well, that means bad for me, because if the Australian dollars is increasing, okay, if the Australian dollar is increasing, okay, if the Australian dollars is increasing, and and that means US dollar is reducing against Australian dollars, that means my cost, my price for my customers will be increasing. Okay, what does it mean? That may affect my volume. Okay, consumption may drop. Okay, so that means a threat for me, right? Okay, so that's basically a bit of example, guys, in terms of analyzing this. So please use data like that, graph like that in your analysis. Okay, and if you look at that, you can also use this kind of template to help you. And political, you outline the factors here. Please specify what factors are you looking at under political, for instance. Are you looking at regulation, which specific regulation that the government has just introduced, right? So you specify them, and you analyze here, right? What is the impact? You analyze the impact, okay? Here, your judgment, whether your verdict, whether it is positive or negative, okay? And after that, you highlight your analysis comments after creating a diagram, okay? Okay, the other tool that we can also use is that we also need to complete is SWOT analysis. SWOT is a strategic fit analysis between internal and external. Okay, so the strengths and weaknesses are internal elements. Okay, they are your internal part. All right. What does it mean? As an internal part, they represent the assets, the capability or resources that the organization has relative to the competition in the context of strength. If it is weakness, then you don't have that assets. Okay. What are the examples? They could be brand reputation or company reputation. All right. Human resources, financial resources, knowledge. Okay. Management capability, patents. Okay. Access to customers, access to suppliers. Right. There are some examples of assets. Okay. You need to map them. You need to map these assets, whether for the organization that you are analyzing. All right. So they are internal and they represent assets, capabilities, or resources that the organization has or doesn't have in the case of weakness. Okay. So, for instance, if I set up a cafe business, okay. As a newcomer, I have strong backup, right? So I'm the only one who can spend $50,000 on advertising campaign. Okay? The other cafes on that block can only spend $5,000-$10,000 maximum. Okay, is that my strength? It is my strength. How do I write it? What strength does it mean? It is money. Okay. So I have strong financial resources that helps me generating strong advertising campaign that influences consumer behavior in a positive way to my business. So that is my strength. That's how I write my strength. Okay. Now, as a newcomer, for instance, right, I can't offer pastry products, for instance. Is that my weakness? Yes, it is my weakness. What asset am I missing here? Well, pastry products. I don't have the access to suppliers, right? So access to suppliers, I'm lacking of access to suppliers who can provide me with tasty pastries. That is my weakness. Okay. Now, opportunities and threats. Again, for opportunities and threats, you need to link them to your macro environmental forces and also competitors in the case of threats. Competitors, again, guys, are always in your threat analysis. They can't go anywhere else, okay? If your past analysis is positive, then it goes to opportunity. Unfavorable past forces would go to your threats. Okay, so that's how you link your situational analysis to your SWOT. Okay, remember, one of the key characteristics of good strategy is actually linking one analysis to the other analysis. Okay. All right. So again, guys, this shows you some examples of sources of strength, right? As mentioned before. Okay, patent, knowledge, business process, financial resources, brand. Okay, and so on and so forth. Right. By the way, in terms of brand, you want to specify brand reputation as what? Right? If you look at Apple, for instance, yes, brand reputation as being popular, for instance, or being innovative, for instance. So people lining up in front of the store when they announce, hey, I'm going to launch iPhone 7, for instance, right? So starting from 2 a.m., people just, waited in front of the store. And I'm hearing that even in America, some people lined up in front of the store a few days before. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understanding the environmental forces. The next thing I'd like to discuss is the consumer behavior element. This is a model that shows us consumer behavior. Okay, I just want to discuss this briefly to give you an idea that our consumers are affected by the environment. They process that in their black box. All right. So this is actually using the SR model, stimulus response model from social psychology. So anything from the environment will be processed by the buyers, by our customers, so that they can respond in a certain way. All right, now consumer behavior. There are two things that we need to look at. There are two things that we need to address in our consumer behavior analysis: level of involvement, and the second one is the situational influences or factors affecting consumer behavior. Okay, level of involvement. Two things: high or low. You need to substantiate it. Okay, how do you substantiate it? From concept, you need to refer to the concept, right? High or low level of involvement includes these areas that you need to look at. Whether it is feasible or not, or the risk is quite high in terms of visibility to the others, and the other one is financial or social risk. Okay, if it is expensive, then you could say that yes, it is high level of involvement. Right, the consumers will think about it thoroughly. Okay, and the other way around in the case of and the opposite in the case of low level of involvement. Okay, all right. Situational analysis, okay, which is basically situational influences, right? Which is basically about influences from physical and social surroundings, time, and recent considerations, as well as the buyer's mood. They affect the consumer's buying decision process. Okay, let's have a look at them. Physical surroundings include the store locations, atmosphere, aromas, sounds, lighting, yada yada, and the other physical aspects. Right, when the consumers make decision. Right, you can also ask yourself when you are in the shopping center, you you walk around the shopping center, and suddenly you found something from the store, and the atmosphere in the store may attract you. Right, so that means you are affected by the situation here from a physical perspective. Okay, social surrounding actually includes the characteristic interactions with the others. Remember, we are in quote unquote social animals, so we interact with friends, relatives, and also salespeople and the other customers. Right, so that also affect our decision in buying products. Right. So you need to ask yourself whether these also influences the customers. Okay, refer to the concept again. Please refer to the concept. Okay, time dimension revolves around the amount of time required to become knowledgeable of the product, to search for it, and to buy the product. Okay, so if the consumers if your product requires more time for the consumers to decide, then it may be likely that you are losing the consumers, right? Because your competitors, if they can shortcut the time, then they can get the consumers faster than you can. Okay? So you need to look at this area, whether the consumers require certain time to become knowledgeable about the product. Okay? Purchase reason, okay, it is about basically about why the consumers buy this product. Okay, what do they want to achieve with this product, and for whom would consumers buy this product? Okay, so please have a look at this area as well. And the buyer's momentary moods, such as anger, anxiety, or contentment, or momentary conditions such as fatigue, illness, or being short on cash, for instance. They also affect our consumers' buying decision based on situation perspective. Medicines, for instance, definitely from illness perspective. Okay, if they buy vitamins or dietary supplement, it could be from the context of getting well-being, for instance. That's a mood that they have in mind. Now, psychological influences on buying decision process includes this area: perception, the consumer's perception of the product or themselves, the motives, learning, attitude, and self-concept and lifestyle of the customers. Okay. Social influences also includes the role of the customers may take, the reference groups, the opinion leaders like doctors or chemists. They may affect our decision. Okay? Digital networks, culture and subculture. Okay? In brief, the factors. This is another way to look at the factors influencing consumer behavior aside from the textbook, but you can also look at your textbook basically. They are the factors affecting consumer behavior: cultural, group, social, personal, and psychological. Okay, and social factors include reference group, for instance, which is basically a group that affects people decision directly or indirectly. Your family members may affect your decision. Your relatives, your friends may affect your decision. Key opinion leaders such as doctors or chemists may affect your decision in buying certain product or brands. Okay? Personal factors may also be about the personality of the customers. Okay, personality is actually defined as the unique psychological characteristics that distinguish one person to the others, and they are relatively stable. And they are normally described in terms of traits such as self-confidence, outdoor person, or adventurer, okay, or defensiveness, or permissible. Okay, now you can also reflect yourself about the personality. Okay? For marketers, it is important for them to understand the personality, because they can create brand personality in line with target group's personality. Because in theory, the customers would buy products or brands which are in line with their brand, with their personality. Okay, otherwise they may feel something's wrong here, imbalance, right? There's an incongruity in here, right? Inconsistency in here, okay, between the brand that they purchase and the personality of themselves. Okay. Psychological factor, the big one here is the motivation, which is basically a drive that is sufficiently pressing, so the person needs to seek satisfaction. And under motivation theory, we have a Maslow's hierarchy of need theory. Based on this theory, we say that the customers would fulfill physiological needs such as hunger and thirst, and then they elevate that to the next level: safety needs, to the next level: social need, esteem, and self-actualization. Okay. All right, now look, guys, in terms of how you deliver, please make sure that your deliverable also consider the presentation aspects, such as the visual images, diagram that support your analysis, references. You insert your in-text references and a reference list. If you're not sure on how you can do Harvard referencing style, please download it from the portal. And in terms of writing, please make sure you use formal writing style. You avoid the first person perspective. Okay, use the third person and put it in neutral position in your writing style, and insert headings, subheadings. Okay, title page, table of contents. All right, and structure that based on headings and subheadings as well. Now, headings and subheadings in here, you can refer to the tasks, okay, such as environmental analysis, SWOT analysis, okay, introduction, okay, consumer behavior analysis, okay, that helps you to that helps reminding you that you need to address those tasks, as well as from my perspective as the reader, that also helps you to understand your level of understanding, okay, of the topic. Right, remember references again. And this is my reference. This is a list of my references. Any questions? Please send me an email. That's my email address. And so far, I've been responding to emails. Thanks a lot. And on the same day, basically, because I can access the emails from my phone. Okay. Next step, please post your product ID for assessment phase 1, and stay tuned for the second webinar to discuss the assessment case study phase 2. Right? Good luck, guys, and stay tuned.